Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's episode of Real Take Real Estate, where we give you our real take of today's housing market and everything real estate. I'm your host, Maddie Maloney, joined by my co-hosts,
Joe Sambear
and Sam Fada.
Today, we are so excited because we have our very first guest on the podcast. I am pleased to introduce Scott Abramouski.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Of course. We are so excited to have you. So Scott is a Michigan State University graduate, and he is also a fitness entrepreneur. So along with his wife, he is the owner of M43 Fitness with 2 thriving locations. And we are very pleased to announce that coming soon, there will be an announcement of a 3rd location, which Scott just told us today. So very exciting. So Scott, we are so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So wanted to start off and just a little bit of a background. We're bringing in someone that has a little bit different experience. We've been talking about a bunch of loan products, a lot of real estate. We want to bring in someone who not only is an entrepreneur, but has kind of gotten their start with being in the real estate business and kind of how real estate has helped you get to where you are today. So Scott, could you tell us a little bit about your background in real estate and how it has helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I've dabbled a little bit in the residential and the commercial space. I'm 34 years old and have been in 3 houses in the last 5 years. A lot of it thanks to you guys. But when it comes to a lot of the residential stuff, when you have a professional like you guys at Dart Bank or a realtor that you really confide into, whether you're trying to find the next house for you or if it's a good deal or if you're looking for an investment property, a lot of people don't have time or necessarily know what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. So I have 1 or 2 realtors that every once in a while will send me a text of a listing and kind of heads me into a tailspin. Good tailspin sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
But a lot of it, I think a lot to the Sambear family, but Joe Sambear, because I'm sure I have called him and texted him at all hours of the night about, is this possible? What could this look like? Because a lot of times when it comes to real estate, we don't know. You guys are the professionals. Mm-hmm. So once you guys kind of lead us in the right direction, tell us what we need to know or steer clear kind of a thing, it's obviously super helpful. And then with the commercial aspect of it, I never thought I would own a commercial property. Now I own a couple, including my 2 gyms. But the nice thing is I kind of hold my own destiny with it, being my own landlord. You kind of know what you're getting into. Some is good and some is ugly, depending on the situation. Yes. But the nice thing is I knew that gyms can obviously be profitable. It's not necessarily, it's something that you get in for the love of it, not necessarily just to make a ton of money. Mm-hmm. But on the back end, we do own both of our properties. So as we make payments to them, yes, the payments aren't the greatest thing, but you look at it and then you have this built up equity. And then, I'm 34, so by the time I'm 50, I'll have both of the properties hopefully paid off by that point in time. So it's just kind of a 2-tiered approach, like fitness as well as kind of the commercial aspect to it.
That is definitely, awesome there. And so I love that you touched on how having a team, kind of having your realtors, having the mortgage bankers is just so important, especially as you're kind of getting into the investment part, owning some more commercial buildings, getting into that 2nd, that 3rd home. It's just so important to have advisors that you trust, especially in any market, but particularly now as well. Did you kind of run into that with this 3rd location as well? Just trying to navigate, how did that come?
Yeah, so a lot of it, in short, is everyone have always said that when I've loved to either read books or surround myself with other successful people or other people that just are a wealth of knowledge, at one point in time, they didn't know the answer to. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know the answer, I always tell my wife, if I don't know, I know somebody that does know the answer, and I think that's invaluable. Mm-hmm. So kind of surrounding yourself with the correct people. This 3rd location, funny enough, I won't say too much, but the 3rd location, I'm going to be leasing the space. Okay. But I can tell you that when they were looking for an occupant or another fitness owner to come into the space, that it was relationships that I made years ago that kind of made them come back full circle. So you'd never want to step on toes, basically. And it's just Definitely. One of those things, once you always just keep the door open, you never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things I had legitimately probably a 10-minute conversation 5.5 years ago that led me to this opportunity for the 3rd location.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's great though. I just had one quick question too. Yeah. With the real estate investing in, I think a lot of people too learn from mistakes. And what kind of, like, with real estate investing lessons have you learned, or something you regret? Just out of curiosity there.
So there's a couple of those.
Do we want to talk about that one property?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So I bought a 11-unit apartment complex in Lansing. A lot of it was Section 8. It was a great piece of property. I got into it early on, and the nice thing is a lot of times there's deals out there, or there's people that are willing to kind of help you out in the process. So we actually bought it on a land contract from somebody that didn't necessarily need the money up front, but they just didn't want to deal with it. And me being young and ambitious, probably too ambitious, I obliged. Let's put it that way. I had a partner in the deal. I did some stuff. I read and read and read. Like, I changed the sign. I did some paint. I did some minimal things that I could only afford at the time. And I had that building from about 5 vacancies to full for about 2 years. The biggest lesson that I learned in that whole process is you doing it yourself sometimes is the best way of doing it. We actually ended up hiring a leasing agent that we just kind of butted heads a little bit. I can tell you that I had that for 3 years, and there is no way I took a penny out of that property. But what I tell people early on is it's okay maybe if your first deal isn't profitable or doesn't make money. I learned more in those 3 years owning those apartment complexes than you could probably in a vast majority of books. And I think it's one of those things, like, whether, you want to be, you want to be a dentist or you want to be something, the best thing I always tell college kids, because we do a lot of internships at our gym, is just volunteer, just try. I mean, because those people, like I said, they were in your shoes at one point in time, and they want to kind of see what it's like, and then there's no better way of seeing what it's like but besides doing it. So there's that one, and there's a couple other ones that definitely went sideways.
That's a good one, yeah.
People never want to talk about their failures. They only talk about, but in every failure is a lesson.
Yeah, that's how you learn. Exactly.
Yes. Awesome. So as we go into the next part, with being an entrepreneur, so you've kind of been doing this for a little while now. Well, let's see. When did you purchase your first property?
First property?
Yeah.
So I'm 34. I think I purchased it at 24.
24. Okay. So you've been in the real estate business for
those first 8 years might not have counted, but officially I've owned the gyms almost 6 years.
Awesome.
Okay. Awesome. So you've kind of been in this a little bit now. What advice would you have for other entrepreneurs kind of looking to start their own small business? Is there anything that you would have changed how you started getting into the gyms, or would you do it the same?
I think in any business, and I've read a lot of books and listened to a lot of podcasts, I'm just like forever want to be a learner. And the three things that kind of always come up, one is just add value. And if you add value in anything, whether it's in the mortgage industry, whether it's in the fitness industry, obviously that's a big one. Another one is just customer service. I have people that maybe will leave the gym, but then they'll come back. I pride myself on our Google reviews. I think we have over 400 5-star Google reviews, and a lot of those have just come naturally, because a lot of times a lot of people have an opinion. You just have to kind of bring it out. And obviously I know for a fact that my best salespeople are my members, because those people are going out, they're walking, they're talking about it. It's better than any billboard or anything you can do. And one of the things I always tell younger people in the space is you just have to care about the person at that moment more than they care about themselves. So a lot of people, when they come into the gym, or this could be for any business, they might be defeated, they don't know the answer. If you just take time out of your day, help them out, guide them in the right direction. Like, when people always ask me why I got into it, is because I know it's corny, but I can sometimes be like I call myself the warm fitness hug that can kind of put people in the right direction. But that being said, being an entrepreneur, it's hard. I mean, there's some days I come home and my wife and I just stare at each other like, what did we get ourselves into? And then there's other days like, this is the best thing ever. But you can kind of control your own destiny. But I would just know, when you're in it, you kind of have to just be relentless, and just always look to improve yourself. That's definitely some great advice. And when you walk into Scott's businesses, there's an energy and a feel. And I think I know that you're very intentional about, even the color of the walls, any of the branding. Tell us a little bit about, like, you actually put a lot of thought into the branding, because you think it creates. Yeah, so I know some of you have been in the space, but they're small. They're smaller gyms. A lot of these big gyms that do very well, and I will stop here and just say, if you're doing anything, I'm very happy. I don't care where you're at or what you're doing, as long as you're trying to better yourself. But when you come into our atmosphere, I'm clean. That's my claim to fame, is I was clean before COVID. And then also, like, when you come in, like the music, I want to create an atmosphere that when you come in, it makes you want to work out. A lot of people sometimes have lacked the motivation, but I was like, once you walk in the door, you know, our average age is like 39. So it's just kind of people come in here like, well, you know, your gym looks like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm like, but look around. Like, they're everyday people. There's moms, there's dads, there's people that are on all walks of life. And people, the cool thing is when it's small, you can kind of see other people like in a controlled setting really trying to better themselves. And I think like it motivates everybody from just walking in there.
Yeah, you see a lot of different levels of fitness coexisting, which
Correct.
you don't see a lot of places.
Correct.
So I think that's really, really unique.
One thing that I love that you said is, you know, the main things that you focus on is adding value and providing that customer service. It's just so awesome that not only translates in the gym space, but that's just in every business and what we focus on as well as mortgage bankers on our team. You can just translate that over into any business or anything that you're trying to get into. It's really all about adding value and all about that customer service and putting your customers and their needs and wants above whatever you think that you need to do or make the brand. It's just all about, you know, providing that value and customer service, which is just really awesome.
One of the things real quick on that, because I say this a lot, whether it's been Joe, who like, you know, Joe and I've done a few deals now, and I think I've sent a couple your guys' way, but like, even like when I was my insurance agent, for example, like, you know, he took a lot of people don't take the time. Like as a young person, I want to understand what I'm paying for, what I'm getting into. At the time I just had a car. Now I have cars, houses, commercial stuff. So it's kind of blossomed. I think like, you never know what that relationship is going to lead to. Like, and you guys are someone like Dart in the business aspect or residential. I mean, I'll call Joe and he'll spend time to explain the situation to me, not just look at me as a transaction. So a lot of people, whether it's people that I need in the gym or like, it's just when you talk to those people, it's like, I don't even question anything because you're the expert and I know that you're going to take care of it.
Definitely. Yes. Always just putting everyone else first and not thinking of it as, oh, how much am I going to get off of this sale, or focusing on the numbers and meeting quota or anything like that. As long as you put the relationship first and helping people, you know, I think that we've talked about this before when we're helping people in a mortgage loan scenario. You know, we always make sure to compare deals, and, you know, if someone else does get a better deal with some other bank or something, we let them know, but not only because we want what's best for them, it's because that they know that we're going to help them in any scenario. And then from that, we get their family and friends, referrals from that, which is just the best business that you can get there. So definitely some great advice. Now, we want to transition from talking a little bit about real estate and into your other area of expertise, going into a little bit of the health and wellness. So first, I want to talk about what made you transition into getting into the gyms and more of that from being in real estate.
Yeah, so I dabbled with a few other things. I originally wanted to go into physical therapy. I did a couple internships at gyms, one of them being State of Fitness, and I owe a lot to Justin Grinnell. But when I was working with clients, like some of these clients have lives outside of the gym, obviously, but when they come in, they care, they're working on themselves, like it's energizing. And then, you know, you become friends with these people. And then I've always kind of been the odd first off, my dad, my brother, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and both grandparents were mechanical engineers.
Oh, wow.
So then there's me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I get paid to be in sweatpants. So
great.
it was just something that I saw so much potential in it. And it was obviously scary starting up a gym. I mean, it's scary to start any business, really. But it was just something that, like you talked about the transactional aspect of it. I barely look at our financials. Like I know that if I'm putting value for the customer and people are coming in, we're gonna stay in business. And that's one of those things that I've just kind of put my foot down and just, I don't know. I really like when people are bettering themselves and just working on themselves, because then you can see in all aspects of life, it improves. Their life improves.
Well, with that, Scott, you're a very giving person. I count you as one of the more influential people in my life, and what you've helped me, as much as I've helped you, you've helped me. And what we really wanted to see today too is there's a lot of anxiety out in our world, I think, with things that are going on in the world and have gone on for the last few years. There's anxiety in real estate for buyers that are struggling, for some of the buyers' agents being in a seller's market. But just in general, what are 3 things right now that we all can do that take action today to affect our health and wellness, and 3 steps we can take?
Well, first of all, I think that in anyone's life, regardless if I own a gym or not, I think health is basically the foundation of everything. Like if you get healthier, you start eating better, your relationships get better. Like I know that I become a better father, you get better at your job, all that kind of stuff. So I think that, putting that foot forward. The 3 things that I always say is, I say this to everybody, something is better than nothing. Fitness is not complicated. You just have to move. I am a huge advocate of walking. Someone's like, well, I only have 10 minutes. I'm like, just walk for 10 minutes because you weren't doing that before. And a lot of times, which is really cool, when I first started, a lot of times, unfortunately, people came, I want to say when it's too late, but later in their life, maybe they had a health scare, they are 60 years old and they're like, well, now what do I do? And you're getting people that are in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s that are caring about blood work. They're caring about other stuff, because I think that whether it's been social media or just people kind of wanting to invest more into their health, people are coming earlier. So I guess for point 1, I would say start now. Don't keep putting it off. And then just know that the earlier you start, the easier it's going to be. The second thing, I'm a huge accountability person. When it comes to accountability, I have like the same workout partners, one being Joe's brother that I work out with pretty much 5 days a week. Because I know that if I own gyms, and some days I don't feel like working out, someone's going to meet me there. So what I always tell people, if they're kind of struggling with maybe the accountability aspect, maybe just tell your friends what you're going to do. So therefore they're holding you accountable. Maybe you tell 10 people, maybe 1 person holds you accountable, but it's still better than nothing. And then maybe have a workout partner or someone like, I've done these different like walks at night and these different challenges and stuff. And like the last thing I want to do is get dressed up in cold weather and go for a walk. But I know that 2 people are waiting for me. So if one of the 3 of us want to, it's better than nothing. So just, find an accountability partner. And then the last thing, which seems like a pretty low hanging fruit, but you'd be shocked, is I don't talk to people about diet or anything else unless they're drinking enough water and they're working on their sleep. A lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, okay, how many days a week do I need to work out? What do I need to eat? What do I need to do? I'm like, well, how much water are you drinking a day? They're like, well, I have one of these, and it's like a 12-ounce water bottle. I'm like, I'm not opening that vault until you can at least prove to me we drink, X amount of water a day. And then it's funny because then people are like, oh, I started drinking more water and I feel so much better. I'm like, I'm like a magician over here. I know sleep, obviously I, have multiple businesses and I tend to get up early with the job and I have young kids. So sleep is something that I always try to work on. But I would say that those 2, you just have to create the foundation, because if you're not eating good, you're not drinking water, and you try to force fitness, that's where I think a lot of people fail, because there's other goals that they need to achieve first before coming to the gym.
Definitely. So when you're going to the gym and you want to start your new fitness journey, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to go in thinking that you're going to be some amazing CrossFit expert in it. You don't have to go in knowing every single move or anything. It's just about, like, kind of how you said, just starting with the walking, starting with just some basic simple moves, starting with drinking enough water, just the small basics. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's something that I often get caught up in. I'm a perfectionist and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to go into the gym, I have to know exactly what workout I'm going to do. Am I doing shoulders? Am I doing legs? What machines am I going to use? And you don't have to have a perfect plan when you start. It's all going to come naturally. And it's like you said, you just got to start now and start with the simple things. So
the cardio thing, Scott, like I think I've never heard that approach of, even how your gym set up, it's simple movements. Maybe you can talk about like the cardio machines and just even how your philosophy on,
so
on
a
cardio.
lot of the people that I probably trained over majority of my career are probably more 40 to 60. And I understand that obviously there's health issues, there's movement issues, there's skeletal issues. There's something that's obviously, so people always come to me and just tell me what's limiting them. I'm like, let's make those not limit you anymore. So a lot of the stuff that we have in a gym is more of a functional space. My corny tagline is we don't have machines because we make you into a machine. But a lot of the stuff that we do that Joe was talking on, a lot of the cardio equipment is stuff that you're kind of be more inefficient at. And a lot of times, just like with anything, if you're inefficient, you have to work harder to burn the calories. And a lot of stuff, I'm a huge movement person. So like it's very eye-opening when I have people do like my intro sessions. And they're like, well, I ran Boston and I can do this. And I'm like, okay. I mean, this happens all the time. And then we do simple movements and they can't do it. And they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, if you can move better, it's just like building a house. You can't build a house without a foundation. Mm-hmm. So with a lot of the cardiovascular stuff, obviously it's great for heart health. And a lot of the movement stuff will help everything, better in your life. Because a lot of, like an average member for us is just a grandma that wants to walk around the block with their grandkid. And they're like, my knees hurt and I can't do it. They're like, I just retired. This is not a way to live. And then you see like, being in the gym for a month or two, they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, movement is medicine. I know it's like a corny tagline, but it works. So a lot of the stuff I kind of piggyback off that with a lot of our training to show people when they come in, they can do it and they can succeed. And then they'll keep coming.
But I think a lot of people think, oh, I need to be on this machine for 30 minutes. It's definitely not.
No.
And that's what you said, that just a few minutes,
Yeah.
the right movement.
Yeah, if you told me to get on something for 30 minutes, I'd walk out. So.
So going off of that, I know that we kind of touched on, especially in the real estate industry right now, it's been a very mentally draining, mentally tough year for a lot of people with where rates are, where, housing inventory is. It has been very tough on a lot of real estate agents, a lot of people just in the real estate industry. So going along with physical health, how would you say mental health plays a part with going to the gym and getting movement? If someone is having any hesitations, like, oh, I feel like I just need to get my mental health space set and then maybe I'll start going to the gym. I feel like it's kind of, you got to start with that physical health first, though.
Yeah, I think whether diagnosed or not diagnosed, I think everybody has some level of anxiety. And I think that a lot of people are willing to invest in everything else but their health a lot of times. So I think in anything, if you just have like one concrete or strong foundation, whether it is for a lot of people like movement or fitness or just, that's why I said just something is better than nothing. Like if like a lot of people are like, well, I have a really hard day ahead of me. But I'm like, if the hardest thing for you, you get out of bed first thing in the morning and you do something, you've kind of already, it's like the whole making your bed philosophy. You get out, you do one thing. Like a lot of people have a to-do list of 100 things and they get like maybe 1 or 2 of them done. And that to-do list just kind of keeps compounding. But I was like, once you kind of have one thing, I've seen so many people that, their life is like utter chaos or they have like, high anxiety or whatever it might be. Once they start moving, you can see that they're smiling more, their complexion's better, they're looking better, they're feeling better. And then naturally, I think a lot of people just end up that spiral. They're like, well, I always say that most people don't know what feeling good feels like. They're kind of just used to this norm of, I feel okay. But once you actually start working on it, like I know if I eat really well for like a week, 2, like I feel great. I feel like I'm ready to take on the next business venture. I'm ready to call Joe about some other harebrained idea. But then if I'm eating bad, like I don't want to get off the couch. Maybe I don't want to go outside. So I mean, as someone that owns gyms, I go through the same thing. I think it's just, you just have to start somewhere and just start building that foundation of movement.
Definitely. And you don't have to go to the extremes. You don't have to start with going on a very strict diet, going to the gym every single day. That's not the best way to go about it. Starting with the little steps, starting with walking for 10 minutes a day, making sure you drink enough water. And as you said, then it's just going to start compounding and you're going to start making those other little changes that is just going to be drastic in the end result and just make a whole world of difference in the end. So that is truly some great advice there. All right. So any other last questions, Joe and Sam?
I need an accountability partner.
Yeah.
We need to do that row challenge.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that we can agree that we'll all be seeing Scott in the gym here soon. So Scott,
you heard it here first.
This is our accountability right now. We're not telling 10 friends. We're telling all of our listeners right now that you can catch us in the gym.
We'll post a picture on it. Real estate.
Starting 2024, maybe, or even sooner. So again, thank you for all of our listeners today, and thank you so much to our first guest, Scott Abramouski. So today we have gone over, just a little bit about how a fitness entrepreneur got their start with real estate and a couple of things that you can do right now, if you're struggling with your own mental or physical health. So if you like today's episode, please give us a review. Let us know if you would like to see anything else in the future. And thank you again for watching today's episode of Real Take Real Estate.